1997, it would have been early summer, 9 o'clock in the evening, phone went. Peter Andre's band has walked out on him, care to play keyboards on an arena tour and run the show. I said yes because I'd had a beer, but I'd never played an arena and I didn't know what running a show was. I learnt his stuff overnight and found myself not only operating a keyboard, but an MPC 3000 with two EMU E4 XTs. And then 3 days after that, Bournemouth SECC, the arena in Bournemouth, basically. It kicked off a 2-year odyssey of being a touring musician. Since then, I've become friends with a member of a band that was hugely successful back in the day, but also to this day. So I thought it would be interesting to do a coalface with a difference, to see how things have changed since those good old days in 1997 of running a show from an MPC 3000. This coalface, probably unfamiliar for most of us, that being the Manchester Arena, the band Take That.
Here we go. Oh dear.
It's COVID? What COVID?
Dear me. And here's our...
Here's your workplace.
Here it is.
Wow.
So, we'll have a little walk around here before we go on stage, shall we? Just have a little look.
You've set this up twice, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. So we copied all the settings from the first night.
Okay.
So everything's just duplicated.
So you came in on the Tuesday, took it back down,
Yeah.
and then came back in on the Thursday.
So the top speakers there have got a laser on the top of them.
Right.
So you can see the angle it's pointing at. So up on the wall there's a mark where the laser was hitting.
Right.
So when it came back in the second day, it went back up there, switched the laser on, and it had to line up with that little bit of gaffer tape up on the wall there.
How long is the load-in? How long's the...
There's a loading day.
Okay.
So it normally happens over a loading day, and then we do the gig day, and we do sound check and stuff like that with the band.
Right, I'm just going to stop us for a sec because on editing this, I've realised there's a lot of presumed knowledge. So there's just a couple of principles I want to take you through. Let's start the stage there, drum riser, seats, and then you'll probably notice on big things, like in arenas, stadiums, you have like this shed that's right in the sweet spot. And that's where the front of house guy or girl sits with their mixing desk there. There's also a girl or a guy side of the stage with another mixing desk. Right, so what happens? Let's say you're a guitarist, nice little guitar there. Here, basically you plug your guitar into backline, which is an amp, so it sounds all proper and distorted, and then there's a little microphone there that goes to this person here, who then mixes that together with all of the other instruments and sends that back to what's called foldback, which is often like those little wedgy kind of speakers that you see at gigs. So that's so you can hear yourself. Now, front of stage, there are these massive arrays of what's called a PA, which is an old-fashioned word, public address system. So these, they used to be on the stages or in front, but now they're suspended. So what's happening here is not only is the guitar that's plugged into the backline feeding through to the mixer, also it's going into this desk here, and it's being mixed totally independently of whatever people require for their own ears via the foldback. This is being mixed for the audience. But often for very big shows, you'll also get these things called side fills, which again, is a separate independent mix from the monitor person to the side fills. And that basically fills the stage with sound so dancers can hear what they're dancing to, but most importantly, singers can roam the stage and do their big show without having to stick by their wedges. This, though, has all changed. And it's changed not because of speaker technology, but because of these things called in-ears. On with the tour. The thing, Mike, I want to talk to you about, which is really very evident for me since the last time I was on a stage like this, is where are the wedges and the backline and the side fills?
All gone.
All gone.
All gone.
That's it.
No side fill.
For
no
how long
wedges.
has that happened?
I would say 5 to 10 years, probably.
Right. I think it's worth explaining to people who are watching is that although there's lots of speakers up there, which is what these guys hear, when you're on stage, if you don't have speakers pointing towards you in the good old days, you will not hear anything.
No.
So what used to happen is you'd have, and still happens, is you'd have these wedges on the floor, and when you hear feedback, it would often be when a singer stupidly goes down towards a wedge, and then the side fills would be for like the dancers and just to kind of fill out the sound. But now everyone is on these custom molded, so you get literally a mold to your ear.
Perfection. These things are molded to your ears. They fit like a glove. Once they're in, you can't hear anything. You can only hear what's sent to them. So you get a beautiful stereo. I mean, for keyboard, I'm sure you remember with monitors, it was a nightmare with monitors trying to get a decent sound out of your keyboards. The other thing is, the sensation with ears is that you don't hear an audience. So it's a bit unnerving because it feels like everything you can hear, your senses think that everybody can hear just that because it's...
Yeah.
So you're much more accurate, but you get used to that.
Backline had to be loud then in order for the audience to be hear, what was going on. And over time, Marshall and Fender have got a different sounding circuit, the same for Vox. The amazing thing about where we're at now is that you can capture those circuits with, whether it's neural DSPs, a quad cortex or the Kemper, so you can still have exactly the same sound, even though there's no speakers pushing air around.
Back in the day, it was when in-ears just started, but we didn't be using them, they were a novelty. And I came off, and I hadn't heard virtually anything. I played all night on keyboards, and I was furious. And I remember going the next day in soundcheck to the monitor guy. I couldn't play last night. It was ridiculous. I kept asking for volume, and I'm not getting in. And I was doing my usual thing. And he said, "Mike, I want you to go onto your station." He said, "I'm not gonna change anything, and play your piano."
So as it was the night before?
As it was last night. And I stood up and I played it, and I nearly fell over because the volume of it was unlistenable. And then he said to me, it was like that all night. And then I realised that, of course, in-ears is the only way forward. So this is Christian.
Hi, how you doing?
Liam.
Pleased to meet you, Liam.
And you, go on.
Hi.
Becky.
Hi, Becky. Christian.
Hi, nice
How
to
you
meet you.
doing?
So Becky does the monitors, which I described, which is basically the sound for us on stage. So that's not the sound that goes out front. It's purely the sound that we have on stage for us.
And so everyone gets their own individual...
Their own mix, yeah.
Yeah. And how long does that whole process take in I guess, pre-production?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get the mix dialed in fairly quickly for the band on the first stage, so they can get to a point where they can work through things, and then from there on, over the next few weeks, it just gets refined. We start working into individual songs, so if they want just minor changes in individual songs, we can do that. And that's the big difference really with digital, is we can store everything you can see on here. We've got different snapshots for each song, so if there's minor changes that need to happen, song to song, that's all storable in the program now.
And does the venue have an impact on requirements?
Not too much when people are on in-ears,
Right.
because they've got their own environment. It does make something of a difference because obviously you get the room spill down the mics, but generally not to the point where we'd actually change very much in the mix.
Okay.
We'll walk round and then we'll go up, then we'll go on stage in a bit. This is Ollie's sit-up.
Okay, so totally separate.
Yeah.
For the UK, this is a big barn, isn't it?
Yes.
Until they sort the co-op out, it's the biggest one, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. This, I think, holds more than O2. This is the B stage where guys perform. Again, in-ears, of course. And look where they are.
It doesn't matter where.
We're over there.
Wow.
They've just got in-ears.
These are all different inputs.
And
Band
so
over there.
what is this desk?
Digico SD7 Quantum.
Okay. And are those very commonplace in?
Yeah, sort of standard these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many channels does that? Can
I
that
think
do?
it'll do, like nearly 200. I mean, I think we're using maybe 100, something like that.
Wow.
So we can do multi-track recording as well.
Right.
So everything that comes into the desk gets recorded on there, and then we can play it back. So I could play back yesterday's gig as if they were there.
Here.
In
Right.
multi-track format. So virtual soundcheck it's called. So
Wow.
we use that a lot.
And are you changing settings between songs? Or
Yeah. So there's all the songs there. Make sure this is down. So they're the different. See, stuff changes from song to song.
Wow.
So yeah, the faders all move. Apart from them three. They're manual. So
Right.
I spend the night with my fingers on them.
And what do each? So BVs take that and all.
Yes, that's
Wow.
all
So your
band.
3 stems basically.
Yes, yeah. Pretty
Wow.
much.
What is changing between the
Just
songs?
levels, really.
Levels,
Just levels, yeah.
Things like effects and delays and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Reverb settings, delays, stuff like that. Very, subtle stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference, and just muting stuff that's not being used.
Yeah.
For instance, Gary changes piano a couple of times
Right.
throughout the whole set, just for logistical reasons. They always come down the same 2 channels, so sometimes they get unpatched.
Right.
So I have to make sure it's off at that
Yeah.
point, and then
I
it's
see,
check it
okay.
again.
This is the heart of things. This is where. So I've got a remote control up on the stage in order to trigger start and stop. But essentially, these are, I think they're M3 MacBook Pro Max. I think it's 96 gig of RAM and a terabyte in there. So they're super powerful machines. So there's an A and a B. So if something were to go wrong, where one machine were to crash, which would be catastrophic for things like lights, for time code, then both of these machines, as soon as I press play, it starts playback on both machines. So if one were to go down, there's a switch that then goes, okay, A is down, and so B would automatically take over.
Don't want to tempt fate, but how many times?
Well, I have asked Ben, who is the very, very clever playback technician, this question. He said it's not happened yet. So we've tested it, obviously, we know it works, but it's not failed during the show.
I just cannot get my head around that the show is run from a laptop. Now, it's just like mental. Let's start from the beginning. Why 96K for live?
Well, essentially, these machines, we're using RME MADI faces, so everything all runs over the MADI network.
Yeah.
So there's no analogs running. There's the option for running analogs if we need to, but it all runs over MADI, and front of house and monitors run at 96, so we need to run at 96 to be on the MADI network.
And I don't recognise this software at all. It looks like a DAW.
Well, it is a DAW. It's Studio 1.6, which has been
By PreSonus.
which has been incredible. But then in version 5, they added the show page, which has been unbelievable. So it means that we can run stems out of individual songs. All of these songs exist as songs. We can drop them into player tracks in here, that's how we run the audio. It all runs in sync. We've also got access to, there's something called the arranger track, which means if we want to locate during rehearsals, we can just go from verse 2. With some hardware units that we've used in the past, that would be trying to locate to minutes and seconds, whereas this is all in bars and beats. And we've got, the other thing that's really cool about Studio One is that there's a macro system in there. So I've got macros set up to go, right, so we want to go from verse 2, let's rewind 2 bars and start. So we can jump to any section of the song really quickly.
Amazing.
We take elements that we can't physically play on the stage, and there'll be string sections, there could be analog synths, extra backing vocals. Each song is clicked in time, so obviously everything has a time signature. So 4/4 bar is clicked, per bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. That click is in time with all the tracks.
Yeah.
That click is sent to the drummer.
Yeah.
The drummer plays to that click. So all of the tracks will play back in time with the drummer.
Okay.
And then we play, obviously, with the drummer, and it all fits together.
And he's still
perfectly.
traditionally going 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still a rock gig.
It's still a rock gig. We don't hear clicks unless we want to. We just wait for him to go 2, 3, 4, and off we go. This is the main system. That's the backup, I believe.
Yeah, that's the backup, yeah. And that's then monitoring the switch. That I think that is, there's a MADI switch down there which can switch between A and B if there's a problem.
And is that a manual thing?
No, it's automatic. There's a tone generator that runs, so if something were to go, the tone goes on. In fact, Ben, who's the playback tech, is over there. I think the tone runs on 31. So the condition would be if something happens that the tone vanishes from 31, then the switch goes switch to B.
The essence of the band, which is the bass, the rhythm section, the guitars, the main keyboards, and everything else, is still played live.
Yeah.
and the vocals are all sung live. It's just every now and again there'll be a support. A BV section on an epic song is probably 30 voices.
Yeah.
Now you can do it with 3 of us up there, but it's going to be a bit timid. So what happens is we'll say, well, what we'll do is let's put the choir in for that bit, and we will use a choir and we will sing with it.
The other thing that might be, as we move up onto the stage, that the track machine is doing is it's sending program change messages out to parts of the backline. So for the quad cortexes that Mike and me are using, we get program change messages as soon as a song, because we're both jumping between keyboards and guitar. It just means that we're not having to think about, right, patch change on the next thing. This deals with it as well.
Wow.
This is the main hub of it. Joe has a kind of mirror image on stage.
So from the laptops, we've got 3 separate display outs. So there's the main display that you saw downstairs. There's then the second display, which is auto cue. But then there's this third panel, which is, I see this on stage. So it means that I can see the arranger track and just keep an eye that everything's just running okay.
And you're running your keyboard sounds off main stage?
Off main stage. Main stage is fantastic. The main thing that main stage gives me more than anything else is auto sampler. So it means that any analog synths or any digital synths that I want to take on the road, I can just auto sample them in.
And you don't need a fail-safe system for that?
There's 2 Mac Minis in here.
Okay.
So if something were to go down, again, it's MIDI. So MIDI rather than USB, just because it's easier to do the split, and it's more reliable. I have used USB in the past, but sometimes you can get stuck notes, and so MIDI is much friendlier.
Is this your station?
No, I'm the other side. I do guitars, second keyboards, and sax. Okay. So this is main keys based around the stage 4, which is his chosen one, and then a montage for his second key.
And he's just running all the native sounds. Yeah.
He's running into. He's not running any main stage or anything. That's purely. It's kind of like the purist thing. There's a lot of pianos on this show, so it's all about that sort of side of it. There's nothing sort of really complicated there. And this is just, I mean, even though he's got speakers, he doesn't use them. It's just the boxes, and it's one and a spare for. That's it. So effectively, that is all he uses.
I tell you what's weird, Mike, with me on stages, I always find it really weird when there isn't a rake.
Right.
Because of my parental...
That's proper, yeah.
Yeah.
Your parents would have come from... Well, we've done lots of theatres over the years with those rakes, but they're so difficult to play in.
Yeah.
What's that one in Sunderland we did? There's one in Sunderland which is like...
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Well, ridiculous.
So just to explain what a rake is, this is off topic, but basically for theatres, so the people in the front can see, don't just get someone's head at the back of the stage. Stages with the theatre are actually tilted, which is why when you're down at the front doing your soliloquies, if someone's messing around behind you, that's where upstaging comes from. So, with these kind of concerts, they're flat, and because dancers don't like rakes.
No, they definitely don't. So drums at the back, very simple, as we said before, old school drum kit. And there's not heavy technology here. This is just running stuff so he can hear clicks and a little bit of electronics if needed, but he doesn't really play much. It's all
Does Don have
live.
a thumpy bum thing?
I think so, yeah. I think he's got a kicker, they call it.
A kicker. You'll see that there is a lead going into that stool, and that it just provides the bottom end.
It's all about physics. I know, but the bass players who use them, they stand on things that give them vibrations to enhance bottom end. So,
Is he a loud player?
yes.
Yeah. And Mike, is it why you're in this corner? Did you? Yeah, because
I'm in charge and I can pick. So
but hats off to you being honest, because it's this is it, isn't it?
The bass and drums. That's very often I feel sorry for them over there because they don't get the same experience. I'm literally next door to it.
Yeah. But also, I mean, you're really close to the drums.
Yeah, but I've got in-ears.
But the in-ears protect as well from
I
what's...
can't hear the drums live. I mean,
really?
No, but I get that physical effect. So
and you're on guitar.
I'm on guitars there and keyboards here. So if I'm keyboards, I'm on this station. I just have my motive and Nord. I play more guitars. A lot of acoustic guitars in this. But again, this all go. What's amazing is that all my guitars go through that box. So acoustic or electric, they all go through there.
What I love is some technology never changes. Gaffer tape.
Yeah.
And a few little remember.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh,
Sofa?
Yes. Sit on the sofa.
So, Don, how long have you been playing with Take That?
This year is my 18th year, believe it or not. So I joined the band when I was 2 years old. Yeah, 18 years, man. Yeah, since April 2006 it was, yeah. And it's been a great journey, to be quite honest. It's like each year that goes by, it's like another year at school.
Everything is running out of virtual amps, everything's going to in-ears, except for you, who's still smashing tubs.
Yeah.
And why is that? Why haven't you haven't you been persuaded to switch, say, to a V drum or something like that?
I think essentially with the instrument that I play, it's about the feeling of it, and it's about moving air. And I just think, you know, we could get the separation if I was to go to like a V drum or a Roland or whatever, but there's something about the physical, you know, wooden stick touching head, you know, cymbals and what that brings. I think it's just the best way personally, yeah. And for a show like this, and especially how the Take That sound has evolved over the years, it is sort of like the heart of the sound, really, you know.
And do you think it's not just about Mike and Lee? You know, Mark, Howard and Gary would probably feel it as well, wouldn't
Yeah,
they?
definitely.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah.
I just like walking out into a room and there's a drum kit in the background. Yeah, and the guitars are nice and stuff, but
Yeah.
you just know that there's going to be some fun.
Yeah, and somebody means business. Yeah.
Lee, where's your bass amp?
Well, there's a little box on the floor over there, and that's the amp.
Okay, so what is the box?
It's a quad Cortex.
Oh, so
it's like a Kemper. The Kemper was kind of the first amp modeler, really. And I used one of them many years ago when I toured with Yes.
what about that movement of air? Do you miss the vibration?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
But I'm standing in front of Don's kit,
Yeah.
so I get that.
See, now my brother's a bass player, so I know my way around basses. So what is your A bass? Is that a Fender P?
Fender P, yeah. They're kind of, on this tour, they're all A, because they all do different sections of the
Okay, I
show.
see.
So, but if I were to pick one to kind of rule them all, I'd actually probably pick my Rickenbacker. And that's it, yeah. And a lot of my favourites.
That's problematic for me because it's got one string too many.
I don't like 5 strings, never have, never will. I've got one and I play it because I have to, but, you know.
Fender P, beautiful.
Yeah, that's not an old one. That's about 30 years old. This is about 30 years old. But that's the bass I always wanted when I was a kid.
I don't think it's worth saying on camera how long has it been with you, Mike? And
I've been with Take That 32 years. I started in 1993. It was my first show. And it's changed a lot since then.
I mean, that kind of relationship has got to be like single digits within the industry.
Yeah, you can second think situations and know what people want. You know, I know what the band require. You know, and I can very often do things, you know, without them even having to say, because I know what it should be. We know the songs. We've played them for years. They're always different. I mean, things like Relight's been done in so many different ways over the years, but fundamentally it's still Relight. So, yeah, we've got talking of well-oiled machines, you know, Take That is a well-oiled machine over the years of doing it.
And I remember saying to Gary, does he ever get nervous? And he said, not with these guys behind me.
Well, that's very kind.
but he doesn't, you know, provided he doesn't have to look back.
That's what I love is, as long as I don't have to look behind me, I know it's all right. You know, when you're doing what they're doing, you don't want to have to worry about what's going on around you. It's hard enough doing what they're doing.
They're putting on a show.
Yeah. And we just have to accommodate whatever they need, and we can do.
I know with my parents on long runs, the actors try to kind of surprise each other and stuff. Does that happen? And do you have to rein it in a bit? Sometimes someone's getting a bit...
I'm the worst offender.
And there are nights with technical problems sometimes?
There's always nights with technical problems. I mean, we had one last night. The bass drum got dislodged on the bass drum there, and we could all hear there was a problem there. Wow. Sometimes you might get a moving part that doesn't move where it should.
Yeah.
So I had a problem with my pedal board one night. So, you know, that's kind of, but they're not major problems. They're just...
They're memories.
Yeah, they are.
I think my takeaway today is that so often we see technology as a threat, but actually is making the experience for these guys that much more memorable and that much more enjoyable, I would say.
What you get out of it is still what you put into it as a human being. It's still the way I play it. It's like recording, isn't it? It's still what you put in. The technology can make you do wonderful things, but there's a perception from audiences and people that you don't count, you don't bring anything to it, it's just the machinery. That's not the case.
Well, it's good to hear. And what I like about it is it still boils down to the fact that if you don't have a piece of paper gaffer to your keyboard, you're still fucked.